Herzlich willkommen, liebe Zuschauer. Wir haben heute eine große Ehre. Coach Herford ist heute bei uns und er ist noch in Deutschland, wechselt aber dann im Februar natürlich in die Schweiz, wo sein neues Aufgabengebiet auf ihn wartet. Und ich spreche ab jetzt Englisch und deswegen heißt es jetzt Hello, Coach Herford.
Hello, hello. Thanks for having me.
We are proud to have you here, and let us go back a little bit in time. Let's make a look back in your early days when you started to play football. How did it start with you? Did you go to the high school, or what was your, let me say, the starting on getting in touch with the first snaps or with the first balls or the first tactical things in American football?
Oh, well, actually, it started when I was 4 years old. I was a little youngin' playing flag football in the States. And from there, that's when the love of the game grew. My dad also played football. So I think naturally, it's just something that I loved from the jump. And then from there, going on to play in high school, before junior high, but in high school, Cedar Hill High School, and had a great career. There is when I'm actually the current head coach for Texas Tech University. Joel McGuire. He was my head coach my senior year. And that's kind of when everything really, really picked up for me with scholarship offers and, where things really started to kind of take off for my football career on the next level. I ended up choosing University of Kansas, Jayhawks, and from the Big 12. And man, that was a very, very awesome ride. We were the winningest class in school history during my time there. Won three bowl games during my 4 years I played, with one of those bowl games being the Orange Bowl against Virginia Tech Hokies. And that year also was nominated, got the Big 12 Special Teams Player of the Year. The next year I was an All-American coming to the season. And really, really had a lot of success in college, thanks to my teammates, my coaches. And actually, that's where the love of coaching started to come. I knew that I wanted to be a coach once my football playing days were over. And immediately after college, I started to train for the NFL. That happened. Got into real life car sales, and I realized very quickly that it wasn't for me. That I needed to be around football again, and the opportunity was presented to me in 2011. And maybe we can pause there if you want to kind of transition into the next point about coaching. But that's where coaching started, was 2011.
And let's talk about coaching a little bit. Um, uh, what is for you more difficult, to be a good football player or to be a good football coach?
Oh, that's a good one. I would say, honestly, a good football player, a good football coach. I mean, man, there's so many tools, and long as you have a good mind and a willingness to learn, I feel like, a lot of guys can become a great football coach in some capacity, no matter what that position is. But football player, I'm going to take more to it. Obviously, you do have to have the athletic ability in general. You gotta have, especially to play on Division One level, obviously size, speed, explosiveness, all these things do come into play. And year in and year out, there's so many guys that are good players that don't make it to that level just because they might not have that little extra that D1 colleges look for. So I would definitely say being a player is a lot tougher than a coach.
Um, when you started to work in Europe, what was the first difference you noticed between the American football scene, where you come from, where you came from, and the German or the European, let's say, philosophy of playing football, coaching football?
Oh man, the very first thing, obviously, just the knowledge of the game. Again, me playing since I was 4 years old, I was around, obviously, ball for so long. Honestly, I always equated to soccer or football in Europe. Everybody, young guys start at 4 years old, so they have a lot of experience. And I feel like that's the biggest difference once you enter Europe. A lot of guys sometimes don't start until they're 16, 17 years old with football, and they're only given so much, expertise on the sport and have to just grow gradually. But obviously, we've been doing it since such a young age. It's a lot easier to, gain a lot more experience as you go along. So I would say definitely that's the first thing. And the second thing is just the time. Obviously in college, man, it's 6 out of the 7 days you're getting after it. 6 out of the 7 days. It's an all day type deal. It's an all year round. You know, that you have to really make sure you put your time and effort into. There's really no stopping when you get to college, man. So obviously, you get overseas, you're only able to practice maybe twice a week, maybe a walkthrough for some teams, as I did. But other than that, you just don't have the time when it comes to film, when it comes to putting in the necessary time it would take to be even more in need of a player and or a coach. So those are the two things definitely that stuck out when I got to.
And now I don't want to go too much back to your European experience, but let's have a look at the Baltic Hurricanes. Maybe this was a very let's say it's one of the stops you made before you came to the European League of Football. Did you had the experience to coach a German team of the GFL of the German Football League? What impressed you most of the not only about the players but about the administration, about the team around and all this, let's say the fans? What was the thing that you said, okay, this is also a cool football family consisting of players, coaches, fans, and all that stuff?
The one thing I tell everybody when they ask me about one of the differences or the things I love about football in Europe is just the dedication and the love for the game that the players have. I mean, you look at these guys have jobs, they have school, they have family, yet they still give their time to come out and they want to be as great as they can become. And just to see their level of attention to detail and just wanting to learn, I think is second to none. I've always said in Europe, football is at its purest, but guys, again, they don't start till late. So they are soaking up all the information that they can grasp. And so that's one thing I can definitely say it's so awesome to be a part of and witness, because let's be honest, in the States, because we are so accustomed to the game, some guys, to be honest, I feel like they need to be coached as much. They still, take the coaching, but it's just a different mindset with it. And then next was, I would say, the fans. I mean, they were awesome. Now, granted, I was used to 50, 60, sometimes 100,000 fans at games. But just to see the level of dedication from the fans at Kiel, they were awesome. That was my first experience in European ball. And it was so awesome to see, the happiness fans there every game, dedicated to cheering on our team at the time. So those are definitely two things that really stuck out that was pretty awesome.
And then I think it's about 3 years ago or 2 years ago you joined the coaching team in the European League of Football of Berlin Thunder, and this was maybe a big step for you.
It was, and it was an interesting and a fun step. It was new. It was more of the professional side that I was, really wanting to get into. And yes, it was a lot of difficulties as a brand new organization. We're trying to get the team built. We're trying to get everything under control. Going into a season where you're facing teams that some teams have been already together. So just competing against these teams with some of the difficulties that we were facing was something that was quite the challenge, but it was a fun challenge. It was something that I really, really enjoyed. The guys were great. It was a great experience.
A few seconds ago, I was talking about a big step, but I think the next big step, and it was a really big step, is to become head coach for the Mercenaries. And how come?
Man, when I look back to the Thunder days, it wasn't the greatest of season. And when I left there, or once they decided to go a different direction with the whole staff, I told myself that, if I come back here, I would want it to be as a head coach. So from there, I really put my head down, really got after it, and tried to put myself in position to do whatever it took to get that recognition. And so, the past 3 seasons to be able to, build what was built in Hildesheim and gain that opportunity was such a huge accomplishment. And, it wasn't just me that allowed that to happen. I give thanks to the organization for even giving me the opportunity as head coach for the Raiders, coaching staff, the players, but if it's without them, maybe I'm not in that position. Yes, culture wise and things I'm supposed to bring as a head coach matters. But them buying into it and doing what it takes to become what we became is just as important. So, man, such I guess you could say, huge accomplishment to be able to get to this opportunity for sure.
Um, did you had an eye on the team on the Mercenaries when you were coaching in Berlin?
No, now actually, when I was in Berlin, I don't think the Mercenaries or the Guards were even a team yet. That because that first year I think we had was it 8 to 12 teams. I'm honestly I'm not remembering how many teams we had at that time. But I don't think the Guards was even in play yet. I think they came in the next year in 2022. So no, I didn't have an eye on them at that.
And so, what is your, let's say, what is your momentary view of the Mercenaries? You are in Germany now, but the Mercenaries are located in Switzerland. And have you been there? Have you watched some trainings? Or what did you watch videos? Or what is your knowledge about the team?
I'll be honest, I don't know much about football in Switzerland yet. I've been over the last week really studying and getting to know the culture out there. Thanks to some coaches that are there, some players that were there or that are there as well. Honestly, over the last week, man, I've probably had 30 meetings with players and our coaches. So really, really gaining knowledge and putting forth the effort to really learn about it in general. Yes, I watch some of their games. I'm already in huddle. I'm looking at things that can obviously be fixed. But I can tell you, I really am excited for the opportunity. I know it's going to be a challenge, but a challenge that I'm very excited about.
And if you have a look at the roster at the moment, I know there are some signings missing until, let's say, April or May next year. So how satisfied are you with the current guys on the roster?
I'm very satisfied. Right now it's a limited number, to be honest, and that's why I have been meeting like crazy the past week on recruiting more players. I'm recruiting players back, coaches back, the whole nine. And honestly, it's going extremely, extremely well. And obviously, mixed in, starting trying to talk to imports and see what's out there because we can't get into signing anyone until November 1st, until the leagues actually starts. Um, and so I've been trying to pinpoint guys that we really want to target. But really, right now, has been a huge focus on our homegrown players. That's 90% of your roster. So you got to make sure you get as much talent as possible and guys that want to come and be great. That's the type of atmosphere that I want to build. So we need the right guys, and it's going very well so far.
So I know Christmas is a little bit far away, more than 2 months, but who is on your wish list?
I don't want to put out names, man, but I can definitely say there are some top players that's on the list, and if some of these guys do commit, it could be kind of a shocker. I feel like to the ELF, and then people be like, why did they go there? Well, they probably believe and see kind of what I've been able to accomplish at past education and want to be a part of that. So. There are some guys that's on the list, and yeah, definitely excited about it.
And if we have a look on the conferences last year is, 24. Now, if the ELF and the commission are going to put up the same conferences like this year, so you know your opponents. But what do you think about if I say it would be nice to change a little bit to put the teams on the same level in the same conference? Because it is not so. Some people say that it's not very good for the Vikings maybe to have Fehava or Wroclaw or some of the teams in their conference, and then they get in the last game after 13 games win a really strong one, which was Rheinfire, and they couldn't beat them. So another, let's say, lineup of the conferences. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a tough one, because when you look at how everything is geographically set, it's kind of tough to put, like quote unquote, the top, say, six teams all in one conference. Because if you do that, it's a lot of travel. It'd be very expensive for the organization. So I don't know if that would be the full answer. I think the key is obviously each team that's in the conference, they got to do their best to build the best roster that they can. Make sure they have the right personnel, make sure they have the right coaches to get themselves to be very competitive. I think the problem is because it was such a lack of competition, you saw like a massive drop from the top to kind of the bottom teams. A lot of people saw it as a huge, a downside. But that comes with growth. Some of those teams are at the top, man. Either they've been in play now for a while, or they also have really invested very well in their coaches and players. So I think that the key is every team really taking it to heart and putting forward the best team that they can, and that's going to make it more competitive itself. Because conference that we are in is tough. There's no doubt. Having the teams that we have to play with the Munich Ravens and Warclaw and some of these teams, not Warclaw, but Sparta. Having these teams in your conference, of course, is not an easy task. But if you put forth the best roster you can, and you give yourself a chance every single time that you play those teams. For instance, Mercenaries, okay, they finished 1-11, but they played Vienna and it was 49-40 the final score. Very close game against a top undefeated team at the time, against a team that hadn't won a game or had just won one at that point. So it can happen, and I think that it's hard to sometimes look at as you go through the season. But I think the key is the organization's really doing what it takes to put together a very competitive roster.
Next year, it's about the fourth year or the fifth year about the running the European League of Football. What do you think was the main impact, or let me say, did the European League of Football had a good and maybe a strong impact on the American football scene, or the playing all the people playing football in Europe?
Oh, absolutely. It had a great impact. Obviously, from a marketing standpoint, they do an amazing job. It grew almost immediately. The first year that it was in existence in 21, it almost immediately took off, and it's been better and better ever since. Getting better in areas. Obviously, when you start a brand new league, you never know what you're going to get. You've heard so many stories about leagues that start and they fold within a year or two. So to be going into basically year 5 now is a testament to the league and the work that they put in to put out a very good product as far as the league itself. And obviously for the players, being able to be coached by some of the top coaches around, I think it's nothing but a plus. It's a gain for European ball or overseas in general. I think that's what's key is continuing that push and that progress, and I think it'll continue to be great.
How important is it for you that very much young players all over Europe try to get into a team of the European League of Football? Especially in Germany, they have about 5 teams, I think, and they're building around the team some, let's say, eras where the young players are going to have tryouts or something like that. In Austria, we have that too. And how does that work in Switzerland to get young players into your team?
Well, it's very important. At the same time, I think that the club teams is also equally as important. And I think that maybe something future-wise I think could be great for the league is maybe they get to a point where they partner up with these local teams and like build like a bridge system where some of these young players, okay, maybe some of them aren't quite ready for the ELF just yet, but they're getting training and we're all kind of working together to build those players to get to that point. And I think if you keep that cycle going, it can really be great for the whole country, whatever country that might be. Obviously, Germany, with having so many teams, that makes it pretty tough to focus on Germany, but it's more so about that area, like Berlin, for example. The teams that are out there, if you can find a way to come to some type of partnership, I think it could be great for all parties involved. Of course, having those young guys, you can see so many of them have aspirations to be a part of the ELF, and rightfully so. And they look at, okay, we're probably going to get the best coaching. Not just saying coaching isn't great at the club level, but obviously when you consider the ELF as the professional league, they look at this and it's something that they're drawn to. So I do think it's important, but I think actually working to that point is also very important.
So I think two questions are left, and the first one is, what is your opinion about fans? How important are they for a team? Not even for a team in the European League of Football, for every team. We talking about every team in Austria, every team in the United States, and every team in the ELF. How important they are?
Fans are vital, and that's one thing about me, man. I make sure the fans know how much I appreciate them because obviously they create the atmosphere. They create the home field advantage. They create an advantage if you go on the road and if they travel well. If you see your fans and they're cheering just as loud as the home team, it's also an advantage. It gives you an extra juice, man, and that's something that I can say that Invaders most recently, our fan crew was unbelievable. Now they traveled well. At the home stadium, they created an unbelievable environment. And I think that's extremely important. And it's also great to see that people are so invested in their teams and in the game of football. It's just awesome to see. Again, I'm coming from a place of I'm used to 60, 70, 80, 90, 100,000 people. So to see, maybe 4, 5, 10,000 that are just as dedicated is so important and also to see.
My last question is, if you, let me say, let's travel back in time, 22nd September this year, to the great final between Rheinfire and Vikings. How did you see that this game from now on? If you look in the past, what did you took with you on this game? Because let me say one thing. Coach Summe said this will be a nail biter. It wasn't. It wasn't. Never ever in all 4 quarters it was a nail biter. So, but everyone expected one, and this is what I say before you will answer.
Yeah, that's the tough thing, man, because Dusseldorf are just so strong this season. They presented a lot of issues for teams. And, when you get to the final against another good team, it's all about who's the best that day. It doesn't matter about what happened in the season. If you go back in the season, Dusseldorf lost to Madrid, who was a brand new formed team. So it's, football is all about who's the best that day. And that day, it was the Rheinfire. And I don't think there's nothing against Vienna because they played their tails off. They tried to do what they can, but I just think at the end of it all, Dusseldorf just had a bit too much that day. It just they won the day, and that's all it came down to. So of course, you would love for it to be a nail biter, to be a bit closer matchup, of course, and especially as a fan, and as a coach and team. But that's just the way football is, man. You just never know what's going to happen, and all you can do is have your team as well prepared as possible. And who's the best that day is the best, and it's up to Rheinfire for being the best that day.
Okay, so what I want you to do now is leave a message for the fans, for all players, for all Europeans who love football.
Man, I can tell you all now, being in this sport is one of the most, let's say, fruitful things that you can be a part of. And again, it's to everything we talked about with the fans. It's truly a family. Football is family. I'm sure people are seeing that statement, and it truly is. And I can tell you guys now, if you guys really continue to follow and continue to be who you are as fans, it only makes our game better. And I can promise you that it's very much appreciated from team to team. As fans or players out there that are looking to continue to grow, keep working, keep working. That's all you can do. But it's not even about just continuing to work. Having the willingness to work is the key, because obviously anybody can say, oh, I want to be on the top level, but what have you done to give yourself that opportunity? So young players out there, all players alike, keep your best foot forward, have the mindset to want to be great, and everything else takes care of itself.
Thank you, Coach. Great word in the end of our talk. Liebe Zuschauer, das war Markus Herford von den Mercenaries, der neue Headcoach. Wir haben in einer Woche wieder eine Sendung. Ich hoffe, dass wir da wieder einen tollen Gast haben. What I have to say is thank you, Markus, for being with us.
Thank you for having me. Enjoy.
And we hope to see you maybe next year. Doris, Doris, who called you for this interview. Maybe we travel to Switzerland and have a home game of the Mercenaries live.
Please.
What we'd like to do next year, because we were traveling all over Europe the last few months, and yeah, Switzerland was not on our list, so we have to do that next year.
Please do.
Thank you very much. So, thanks to Coach Herford. Danke fürs Zuschauen. Wir sehen uns nächste Woche wieder am Freitag bei CTVau, bei eurem Football-Kanal. Na, das ist ausbringen. Okay, tschüss, macht es gut. Vielen Dank noch einmal.
Thanks.